Well, hello there, humans of his earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and whoever you're lucky enough to be doing it to. It's Bushcon Blitz here, and I'm back with a new video. What a surprise. It's not like one doesn't drop every single day of the week. Today we're going to be looking at the T71. It's a funny roundabout way that I got to looking at this tank again so soon after doing a video on the American Autoloaders and a whole heap of tanks in that line, which I did do. I got to thinking about different styles of tanks and if there were any super overpowered tanks, and maybe I should do a video that just showed which tanks you should be trying to grab if you're after a super overpowered tank. And then I got to thinking what makes them that way and how does that change our perceptions of the other tanks, their peers, the tanks that have to compete with them. And I thought this was a perfect example of it. It's a really, really good way of looking at it because this is a tank that in and of itself is not actually a bad tank. I actually think this tank is quite good just because it's a light tank, and it's very hard, in my opinion, for a light tank to be a bad tank. But it's not as strong as, say, an LTTB or a Type 62, both of which are tanks that could very, very much be considered either overpowered or borderline of that description. Now, this is, as always, a Patreon-sponsored post. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff on Patreon soon. It's a little bit different. We're going to start doing, hopefully, I'm going to try, I had a great conversation with JC Ware, Positive Wave, Spaceman, the dude from Texas, GT Hawk, Baron, heaps of guys and girls on the Discord channel this morning. We have a lot of time chatting on Discord. And basically came up with some ideas about competitions and things. And I want to hold some comps for the patrons. And I also want to do a comp for everyone, just absolutely everyone. Where JC's idea is we do a colouring in contest. I wish I was joking. You got to take your hat off to the man. But gee, I'm getting, it's a bit of red herring this. I'm going all over the place. But I'm going to do a tank video on the overpowered stuff, right? I'm going to do a tank video on the overpowered stuff, but it also made me think about these tanks and the ones that are just struggling along in their own little world, basically beloved by not very, very many because the competition is just simply too fierce. Now, the LTTB and the Type 62 are tremendous tanks. The 62 has just nuts out, great damage per minute numbers. It didn't get nerfed penetration-wise, despite the fact that everything else got a penetration nerf. It managed to maintain the justice, much like the M60 did at tier 10, but the Type 62 doesn't really get talked about in the same kind of terms. It still has 250 millimeters of pen on its heat rounds, where they did drop the penetration numbers down on the LTTB to 200 millimeters of pen on its APCR, and the SP1C to 200 millimeters of pen on its heat. And indeed, the T71 has 200 millimeters of pen on its heat. So it's coming up against tanks in its tier that have a whole lot of other stuff going for it. And the LTTB has a broken armor profile. It has way too much armor for a light tank. All the other tanks at this tier that are light tanks have incredibly poor armor profiles. The Type 62 gets more bounces than it deserves. The Panzer SP1C is literally pennable from all over by, what, 15 millimeters, 30 millimeters of penetration will get you the pen. The T71 has 25 millimeters of turret armor, of hull armor at best, and I mean some of it's sloped and all that, but it's crap armor. And the LTTB has very highly angled 90 millimeter armor on its turret and its hull, which is just ridiculous, right? It's insane. And it's also got incredible mobility and everything else like that. Just crazy stuff. But the T71 still gets by. Now, there's a reason for this. It's because it's a light tank. Now, let me go to school again on this, because I've had people carry on like pork chops about why this tank sucks and that tank doesn't suck. But you need to understand, light tanks, if you know what you're doing, are just such a dangerous, dangerous vehicle. Because their mobility and their ability to actually get around the battlefield super quick without being spotted lets them flex. Now, flexing is a term that you'll hear a lot more on the North American server from the boys and girls over there than you will on the European or the Asia servers and the Russian servers. Now, everyone has a different term for it. Relocating, whatever you want to call it, disengaging. It means that you can go to a situation, put a couple of shots in, come back, reset the camouflage, bust your nuts, get all the way around the back of the battlefield, and hit them from the other side, or go somewhere else, or support someone else, and do that kind of thing. And every single light tank at this tier can do this. All of them. None of them struggle with this because they are all incredibly good in terms of mobility, and they are all incredibly good in terms of camouflage. Because light tanks, as we all know, I feel like I'm a broken record here, have on-the-move camouflage that is equal to their camo while they are completely stationary. And their camo while they are completely stationary is pretty phenomenal. And you can see it's why I'll actually drive tanks like this incredibly aggressively at times, because they possess the ability to get out of trouble that other tanks just don't. And that's, I mean, I'm watching the mini-map. I can see there's 4 tanks up top. I don't have to worry about getting sniped from that side. So I just simply take a huge chunk of territory, advance the cause, spot everyone that's coming down here, put 2 in the side of the poor old Jagdpanther, and keep firing to my heart's content. I've spotted 4 tanks as they've come up there. And now, because things are looking a little bit hot and heavy here, I'm bailing. I'm out of there. Going. And I'm going to go and flex. I'm going to reset the camo and just run. I'm going to go around here and look for other targets. Oh, we missed. But that's fine, because I'm a tiny, incy-wincy, teeny-weeny little light tank. And I'm going to go like a jackrabbit all the way over here at in excess of 50 kilometers an hour. I'm going to let my camouflage reset for me. I'm going to stay under the guns of everyone so no one can see me until I'm in a position to put a shot in. And then I'm going to get some hard cover over here on my right. I'm finally spotted. I'm going to stuff the shots up because I'm not perfect. And scurry back into my hole and not move. That's a light tank for you. And that's got nothing to do with the stats, the DPM, the gun penetration, the gun depression, any of that rubbish. It's just the beast. It's just the way it is, the way they're built and the way they roll. And then I'm going to bang on about this all the time, but you watch me again. I'm just going to flog it all the way over the other side. I can see the Panther M10 there. I'm wondering where the rest of them are. Doesn't matter. We'll go around here and have a look for that SU-100 that we missed a little bit earlier on. There he is. I'm still not spotted. I'm going to get all the way up to within 100 meters of him and double tap him. And that's it. That's why they're good. Doesn't matter that this tank isn't as good as an LTTB. Doesn't matter that it's not as good as an SP1C. It's much better than your average run-of-the-mill medium tank. And I play in this style. I don't play all the time with my armor as my main motivator. Although I can, and I certainly have done with certain tanks in the past where it suits. Look at this poor old IS. He's pushing up there to get the kill shot. That's great. I'm going to give him 50, 60 meters head start. And then I'm just going to go past him on the fly and tap one into the side of the Jagdpanzer as quick as possible. Because I'm a light tank and I have moves and I'm tiny and I weigh next to nothing and I've got no armor. So what do you have if you have no armor? You have a Mighty Mouse. Look at the thing go. It's bouncy. It goes all over the joint. Is it the strongest tank in its tier? No. Is it competent, completely professional if used well, able to dish out large amounts of damage? Well, duh. Absolutely it is. It's got a 160 alpha 75mm gun. It's an autoloader, so you get 3 shots at that, which means you can actually front load your damage a fair bit because it's got 2 seconds between the shells. That means that you get to go bang, bang, and you can pull back. 2 seconds is the time it'll take for the light bulb to go off. So from the time you fire to the second one firing, light bulb's going to go off and you're already reversing, and then you've got 9 seconds from the time the light bulb goes off to the time camo is completely reset. You can use that time to actually completely reload, which is good. It's just 12 seconds as you reload, I think. Running vents. You can't run a rammer on it, but that's grand. And that means that sometimes you treat it like a 2-shot nerfed down SP1C, but a lot safer because you don't have that big reload time between shots that the SP1C now has. They've nerfed it quite a bit. And that brings me to another point. SP1C has been nerfed, okay? It's not as good as it was. It's still a good tank. I mean, we're just not as good as the LTTB. And it's like the IS-3 is a really good tank. It's not as good as the IS-3 Defender. But it doesn't mean it's a bad tank and it can't perform. And I like this tank because, and you've heard me say this before, I've been watching the channel for a while. Wait, look at this situation I'm in here. I'm going to move through this. I'm going to use camo. I can see there's no shots on there. I don't want to get overexposed. I don't have a very high profile. There's a lot of tanks over there. I've got a Helsing right here. But he can't push up because if he pushes up, he's going to get hit from behind. And I'm going to use my imagination to get shots off and basically control the engagement. And you're going to see there's lots of tanks around here. I've gone behind brush before I fired there. So he was just a silhouette. I don't get spotted. I get to unload a full clip. I'm now moving up here. This guy hasn't seen me for ages, right? The T-71 doesn't think I'm here anymore. There he is. Thank you very much. I'll have 3 into you, and I'll risk taking that last shot to get that 3rd shot off, and I'll take 1 back. So we traded 3 for 1. The Helsing is still there, but he's stuck. He cannot move up. Look at how quick the Mighty Mouse gets around. Fantastic stuff. I'm resetting the camo completely. I'm now going to drive up here and look for a shot on that T-71, which I'm going to miss. He's running away. But, I mean, I've completely controlled that engagement. And you can hear the lunatics have just come home from school. God help me. I'm going to do a full reload, and we're going to finish this Helsing off. There's 4 tanks over there. This is worth a little bit of a risk. I'm waiting. I'm thinking about it. Oh, he's definitely an easy kill now. Down we go. 1, 2. Make sure of the last one. 3. And then we are under the gun again. There's an SU-100Y there. There's too many tanks. We're not going to win. Don't expect that. But, I mean, I have a really unlucky roll here too on the SU-100Y, by the way. I'd just like to point that out. Can you see what I mean about the class of tank, the abilities of the tank, and what the tank can do, and why that's more on the drive than anything else? And these kind of tanks allow you an expression of ability that the mediums nearly do, but the heavies and that just simply don't have. You're going to see, I'm going to push around here. Watch this. This is classic. I'm going to get a full clip up. 3 160s is 480, right? He had way less hit points than that, and we roll into 1 hit point. I just hate the world. And then we would have been able to kill him, and we could have killed the other T-71 who's coming up as a 1-shot, and then we may well have been able to do something. But by the time I turn around here, and that's it. So that's the T-71, and that is light tanks in general, and that is why don't worry about the damage per minute numbers. Don't worry about all the other stuff. Worry about the way you play, because there is no way that tank cannot be successful, and there's no way any tank that's a light tank can't be successful. And just because you are not the best possible tank at the tier does not mean you should not be pulling your weight and doing your level best to wreak hell and unleash Hell Maximus, sorry. Look out for that overpowered video. It's coming in the next couple of days. There's going to be lots and lots of fun stuff coming up. Help me pressure Wargaming into giving me stuff to give away. I want to give more stuff away. And we're going to start streaming again. Alas, Snake is never coming back from work. He's buggered off to be the accountant, the combat accountant, and he just won't be around during the day. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to start doing a little bit of solo streaming. We'll see how that goes. We'll work it out. Otherwise, look after your family, stay safe on the battlefield, and until next time, bye for now.